You thought the left wanted equality? That's old news. Welcome to the Rob Lett Show. I'm your host, Rob Lett. Equity, the left's new buzzword. That's the focus of today's podcast. Not a lot to unpack here today. We're just going to talk about one thing, breaking down Kamala Harris's equity versus equality speech. But before we get started, I'd like you to go ahead and do a few things. First of all, like this video, subscribe to it. If you're on YouTube, to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a bell. That's a notifications bell. Click it, and it'll notify you the next time we release a new show. If you're on Rumble, though, to the upper right-hand corner, you'll see a share button. Click it, and it'll share this video with a friend of yours who should have been here with us today. Go ahead and do all of those things that apply right now. Since Biden announced Kamala Harris as his VP over a year ago, many have wondered what her leadership style might be like, especially since Joe Biden himself isn't in the greatest of health. During the 2020 campaign, the Biden-Harris ticket released an interesting audio. Kamala Harris once gave a speech on her belief about the difference between equity and equality. You may have heard it before, but I don't know how many people have taken the time to break down what she actually said. Let's listen to what she said first.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests everyone should get the same amount. The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place. So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we can get the same amount, but you're still gonna be that far back behind me. It's about giving people the resources and the support they need so that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing. Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
Isn't that cute? Someone even made a cute little video to go along with the audio. Aww. Like most ideas on the left, it sounds great until you start asking some questions. Now that you've heard it, let's break down what she said.
So there's a big difference between equality and equity. Equality suggests, everyone should get the same amount.
Let's stop here. First of all, what do you mean by everyone should get the same amount? Get what? Are you talking about money being distributed? Are you talking about equal treatment under the law? Are you talking about equal opportunities? This talk about equal amounts already starts the conversation suspiciously, especially when we're talking about Democrats, because they let it be known that they have this problem right from the start with millionaires and billionaires. Now, you may think it's overkill that I'm breaking down her comments based on her very first sentence, but I have to, because she's using that very first sentence to lay down the foundation of everything that follows. Most people's response to that first sentence is just to agree with her. My first response is, well, maybe. It all depends on what we're talking about. Let me give you an example. Let's pretend that 100 people have $100 each. One of them writes a book, and 20 people buy that book for $10 each. Now, 20 people have $90, 79 people have $100, and one person has $300 in savings. Question: who got exploited? Answer: nobody. Nobody was forced to do anything. It's just people buying goods like we do every day. Yet, take a good look at this example. It shows how even her first couple sentences don't make sense.
The problem with that, not everybody's starting out from the same place.
She says the problem is not everyone's starting out from the same place. Just to play devil's advocate, I started everyone out in the same place just to show you that even if they did start out in the same place, they would still have very different outcomes, because that's how life is. We all make different choices. As you see here, one person made a decision to write a book. 99 did not, and that affected their savings. 20 people made a decision to buy the book when 79 did not, and that affected their savings. This is such a simple yet realistic example to show that nobody starts out from the same place, regardless of race. And it is about race, by the way. Take a look at that cartoon again and notice the color of that person who's supposedly starting from behind. Nobody ever starts from the same place, even within the same family. Studies show that firstborn or only children do better in general than most of their siblings. Is it the government's role to see that the youngest child gets whatever the oldest child receives in a family? Or is it outside of the government's purview and up to the private individual? If it's not within the government's business to fix these discrepancies that happen within a family, then what makes it allowable to fix the discrepancies that happen between your family and your neighbors? Listen, we've all been taught that keeping up with the Joneses is not necessarily a good thing. Just because the Joneses have a Tesla next door, it doesn't mean you need one. For all you know, the Joneses could be mismanaging their money and they're in debt. You following their lead could be disastrous. The Joneses next door could be running a Ponzi scheme for all you know. There are a plethora of reasons why counting amounts of stuff could get you into dangerous territory. Nobody starts out in the exact same place. Tell us something we don't know. Let's listen to the rest of it.
So if we're all getting the same amount, but you started out back there and I started out over here, we can get the same amount, but you're still gonna be that far back behind me. It's about giving people the resources and the support they need.
Now we're getting to your true intention. In order for the government to give you resources and support, that's gonna cost money. The more resources and support you ask for will mean a tax increase. A tax increase means the expansion of government into more areas that are none of their business. So all of this talk about fairness is really a ruse for a tax increase and government expansion, i.e. socialism.
So that everyone can be on equal footing and then compete on equal footing.
This is highly misleading. Listen, I'm 5'6". I'm 5'7" on my best day. What could government offer me to put me on equal footing with 6'6" Michael Jordan? Tell me. I really want to hear this. The truth is you're taking advantage of the less educated. You're selling them a dream. It's not possible to do what you're claiming. But let's play devil's advocate for a minute and let's pretend that you were able to match me dollar for dollar with Michael Jordan's fame, notoriety, and material possessions. There are two huge problems with that vision. First of all, it would be immoral for you to hand me that kind of wealth, notoriety, and material possessions because you'd be missing out on the reason that he has those things in the first place, which is his talent that I don't have. Second, on top of it being immoral for you to hand me that kind of lifestyle, do you think I'm the only 5'6" guy who would want this kind of lifestyle? Or do you think perhaps there are millions more just like me? You're just not telling the truth. Let's go in the other direction. They obviously can't raise all of us to the level of a Michael Jordan, but they could cut Michael Jordan down to the level of income, notoriety, and material possessions as all the rest of us. I'm assuming the government wouldn't break Michael Jordan's legs, so they'd have to figure out some method of inhibiting him from outperforming other players. The question I have for you is forget about the fact that Michael Jordan wouldn't want that. Would you want that? Would you want to be in a country that robbed us of that kind of talent in order to prop up some BS philosophy Democrats believe in?
Equitable treatment means we all end up at the same place.
How, Sway?
I'm sorry, I'm allergic to bullshit.
Exactly. First of all, when you say we all end up in the same place, who's determining where you end up? And how do they know that's where you want to be? And was it even their business to meddle in your affairs in the first place? This is such an elitist thing to say, that government knows what's best for you, that government can somehow predict your outcome. Government is not God. We've seen this before. Be on the lookout for this word equity to be used in all sorts of instances now. All of this BS really stems from the left's obsession with so-called fairness. Just listen.
This is where the concept of fairness gets tricky for some folks. We often think that being fair means that everybody gets the same thing. And that's what we were taught when we were growing up. But fairness really only works when we're all the same to start out with.
I say so-called fairness because the government has no interest in fairness at all. They're simply interested in exploiting your frustration with the fact that someone might have something that you don't. If they can turn your frustration into votes, votes mean more government power. More government power means less individual freedom. This is what people who tend to vote for this stuff seem to overlook, that you give up your rights in exchange for this pipe dream of trying to give everyone what they want. When the truth is, you never had to give up your rights at all. You never had to give up your rights at all because what the left is promising you already have.
Equity can be defined as giving everyone what they need to be successful. In other words, it's not giving everyone the exact same thing.
Don't you already have that? The truth is, the left have been searching for centuries to find something as effective as what conservatives already have. What do we have, you ask? Free market capitalism. Let me ask you, who's the best person to know what you need in order for you to be successful? If you answered you, congratulations.
Come on down!
That's right. Not the government, not a politician, not even your parents. You. This is what makes the free market awesome. Think about it. Whatever a person needs, somewhere the free market has provided it. No voting needed, no politicians needed, no inflation needed, no giving up your rights needed. On a small scale, when people find themselves in financial trouble, it's private citizens who donate to a GoFundMe in order to help them out. No government needed. On a larger scale, when there was a need for humanitarian aid in both the United States and Africa, it was again private citizens who started the group USA for Africa and raised $63 million. They got the whole world involved. No voting, no politicians, no raising of your taxes, no inflation, no giving up of your rights. Just the free market seeing a need and finding enough people who wanted to do something about it. Politicians can't stand the idea that you might not need them as much as they think. So we didn't cover a lot, but we covered several reasons why this equity versus equality talk is a fallacy. Because first and foremost, the best person to decide what you need in order to succeed is you. And you can affect that right now with the free market. Second, not only is it undesirable, but it's impossible for everyone to end up at the same place. That is a lie. That only appeals to underachievers. It does not appeal to people who want to be the best that they can be. Third, this divisive racial talk is all BS because nobody ever starts from the same place, even those in the same family. Do you think Tito Jackson feels he started off from the same place as Michael Jackson? And that's his brother. Miss me with that garbage. It's called talent, it's called choices, it's called life. Stop allowing politicians to talk to us like we're stupid. All of this talk is for the purpose of big government politicians to make you more dependent on them, for you to look to them to be the provider of things that you can do for yourself. In the end, all it does is reduce your freedoms and create runaway inflation. There's a reason why Joe Biden has the worst inflation rate in nearly 40 years. It's because of this kind of talk. All Kamala Harris showed you is that if you voted for her, it's going to be just as bad, if not worse. And based on what I've seen, I'm going with worse. Be sure to stick around for our next podcast. Is college becoming a scam? Because some of you aren't reading the writing on the wall. I'll conclude with the words of Thomas Jefferson. A government big enough to give you everything you want is strong enough to take everything you have. I'm Rob Lett, and I approve this message.